In every era, power adapts, but in 2025, it has mutated into something colder, something less visible, more psychological. The old displays of dominance no longer work. Today, power belongs to the one who controls perception, not possession. Influence is measured by silence, not noise. Respect is earned through unpredictability, not obedience. Every relationship, every interaction, every digital footprint is now a battlefield of subtle manipulation, and those still playing by emotional rules are already lost. This is not a guide for the kind-hearted or the hopeful. It's a survival manual for the strategically cold, a list of 21 dark laws refined from Machiavelli's mind, engineered to make you untouchable. You lose the moment you react. That's the first truth they don't want you to see. Because the second your emotions are visible, you've already handed over the map to your inner kingdom. You've made yourself predictable, accessible, soft. They will poke, prod, and trigger, not out of curiosity, but calculation. And the more they know what lights your fire, the easier it becomes to burn you alive. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Machiavelli wrote, but he left out one thing. Those men test you constantly to measure your threshold of control. Rule number 1, never react to provocation. Let their chaos echo unanswered. There's no dominance in emotional transparency. It feels authentic, but it bleeds power. People will tell you that expression is strength, but in truth, it's exposure. In 2025, where every flicker of emotion is recorded, your calm becomes a threat. You terrify them, not because you shout, but because you don't. Rule number 2, appear cold, even when you burn. Your silence is their confusion. Your stillness is their panic. They don't know whether you're planning or retreating, forgiving or plotting. And that uncertainty puts you in command. Stillness is not passivity. It's warfare without motion. Every delay in response sharpens your psychological knife. While they fumble for a reaction, you're composing strategy. While they scream, you're calculating the next silence. Rule number 3. Control perception by controlling tone, not just words. You can say everything without raising your voice. You can disagree without blinking. And that kind of quiet unnerves people far more than aggression ever could. But here's the truth most will never admit. Emotional detachment doesn't make you inhuman. It makes you powerful. You stop needing validation. You stop craving clarity. You stop explaining your silence. The world will label you cold, cruel, distant. Let them. Because while they drown in emotional noise, you sit above the chaos, untouched, unreadable, unbroken. This isn't about faking disinterest. It's about becoming the kind of person who no longer needs to prove they care. That is when control becomes effortless. You smile, not to comfort, but to mask. You nod, not in agreement, but in observation. And you walk away, not in weakness, but because staying would mean giving them something they never earned, access to your reaction. So let them talk, let them provoke, let them misunderstand. Every time you resist the urge to clarify, defend, or retaliate, you train your emotional muscle, and eventually, it becomes your default. Neutrality as instinct, stillness as shield, because power begins and survives exactly where emotion ends. Validation has become the most traded currency of the modern age. People construct their identities on applause, reshaping themselves for likes, attention, and approval. The hunger to be seen isn't subtle. It's loud, predictable, and exploitable. And those who need to be seen most are the easiest to manipulate. You crave recognition, even when you pretend you don't. That's your first weakness. It leaks out through everything. The way you dress, speak, hesitate. Every glance you throw is a quiet question. Do I matter to you? You think that need is private. It's not. It's visible. And anything that's visible can be targeted. Praise is not affection. It's a tool. Every compliment you receive reprograms your behavior. Slowly, softly, without you noticing, you begin to lean into it. You start chasing that same tone, that same look of approval. And that's exactly when you lose your independence. People don't need chains anymore. They follow praise. They obey anyone who makes them feel important. Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear, Machiavelli said. But in the modern world, validation is both. Rule number 4, compliment those you plan to use, but never sincerely. Tell them what makes them open, not what is true. You think power comes from giving approval. It doesn't. It comes from holding it back. The moment they expect recognition and don't receive it, you gain control. Now they're off balance. Now they question their own worth. Rule number 5, starve them of attention when they expect it most. Do it calmly, quietly. No expression, no applause, just absence. That's when people unravel. That's when they begin to chase what used to come freely. Support is currency. But like all currency, it must be rationed. Most people hand it out cheaply, hoping to buy favor. You won't. You'll give it when it costs you nothing, and only when it benefits you later. You'll clap for people you want near, not people you admire. You'll offer support only to strengthen your long-term hold. Rule number 6, appear supportive only when it costs you nothing and benefits you long-term. That's how you make loyalty feel voluntary. You must learn to use silence, not passively, but surgically. When someone performs for you, emotionally, socially, or professionally, and you say nothing, they become addicted to your silence. They begin to interpret it. They search for meaning in your stillness. And soon, they'll adjust themselves just to break that silence. Rule number 7, make your silence louder than their performance. Let them squirm. Let them strive. Let them try to win back what you never gave. You don't need to be the loudest voice in the room. You need to be the one whose opinion is missed, the one whose absence stings more than someone else's presence. You do that by mastering the illusion of approval, by giving it just enough to create hope, and withdrawing it just enough to create addiction. The people around you are not driven by truth. They are driven by perception, and perception is shaped by feedback. The one who controls the feedback loop controls behavior. If they see you as the one whose praise is rare, they'll start performing for you, not once, repeatedly. They'll bend their personality around your silence, your nods, your calculated glances. That's how you become the axis around which they rotate. But this only works if you detach. You must kill the part of you that wants to be seen, because the one who seeks attention can never control it. He's enslaved by it. He dances for it. The Machiavellian holds his applause the way a torturer holds water, not as a gift, but as a weapon. And here's the darkest truth. Once people taste your approval, they will crave it again. You'll become their mirror, and they'll start to hate anything that threatens their reflection in your eyes. That's how you win without commands. That's how you lead without speaking. Don't chase validation. Don't reward performance. Don't mistake praise for affection. Use it to shape, to mold, to influence. Compliments, silence, nods, They are not feelings. They are levers. Use them like a surgeon uses a scalpel. Coldly, precisely, without remorse. Because in a world starving to be seen, the one who chooses when to look owns everyone else. Most people don't guard their wounds. They display them subtly, awkwardly, sometimes even proudly. Hoping for understanding, hoping to feel seen. It's a trap they walk into willingly. All it takes is the illusion of safety, and they'll confess everything, not because they trust, but because they need relief. They're not careful with their pain, and that makes them useful. They'll hand you their fears. If you pretend to care, that's the transaction. That's the trap. You nod. You listen. You ask the right questions, and they bleed. Slowly, quietly, emotionally. Rule number 8 is simple. Always listen more than you speak. Let them fill the silence. Let them wander into the darkness with their own words. Most people reveal themselves not when they're asked, but when they're heard. They'll offer details you never requested. They'll overshare. And with every story, you collect a weapon, not to use immediately, but to store. It's not about trust. It's about vulnerability access. The weak are addicted to expressing weakness. They'll tell you about their childhood, their failed relationships, their secret doubts. Because it feels good to be understood, you don't have to understand. You just have to look like you do. Rule number 9. Ask questions that surface self-doubt, not directly, strategically. Ask about their father when they mention anger. Ask about failure when they mention ambition. Frame your curiosity around their pain. Guide them toward exposure. The more they explain, the more they disarm. Empathy is the sharpest mask in manipulation. A calm voice, a tilted head, a well-timed pause. They'll see compassion, but you're not offering comfort. You're extracting intel. Rule number 10. Mirror empathy to gain access, but keep your mind clear. You are not their therapist. You are not their friend. You are a recorder of weaknesses. Watch their eyes when they speak about shame. Track their breath when they describe regret. People will tell you exactly what haunts them. If you learn how to sit still and look like you care, and when the moment comes, don't hesitate. When they rise too fast, when they turn against you, when they forget who held their secrets, that's when you strike. Not out of anger, not out of emotion, out of precision. Rule number 11. Weaponize their insecurity at the moment of highest advantage. That's when it cuts deepest, not when they're already broken. When they feel invincible, that's when truth becomes poison. That's when a whisper destroys a reputation. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. Machiavelli wrote, "Delay is mercy. Speed is dominance." You don't need to humiliate them publicly. A well-placed reminder in private. A small comment, a smirk, a knowing look is enough to collapse their confidence. Insecurity, once exposed, never fully disappears. It lives just beneath the surface. You only have to tap it. The rest crumbles on its own. But timing is everything. Weakness isn't useful when it's raw. It's useful when it's forgotten, when they feel safe again, when they no longer see you as dangerous. That's when the memory of their confession returns. Weaponized, sharpened, and aimed precisely where it hurts most. You are not a sadist. You are a strategist. You don't collect pain for cruelty. You collect it for leverage, because real power isn't loud. It's subtle. It's silent. It's knowing something that could shatter someone. And waiting, not out of kindness, but calculation. The world in 2025 tells people to be open, to express, to share. That's fine. Let them. Let them broadcast their insecurities under the illusion of healing. Let them treat you like a safe harbor. But you are not a harbor. You are a mirror they mistake for shelter. And mirrors, remember, you never forget what they tell you in moments of weakness. You never forget the tears, the hesitations, the trembling confessions. Because one day, not today, not tomorrow, one day, they'll need to be reminded of who they really are beneath the mask. And you'll be the only one who can show them that is power. Not in the moment of confession, but in the moment of silence. After disappearance has always disturbed the human psyche. When a presence suddenly fades, without warning, without closure, it doesn't vanish from the mind. It multiplies. It echoes. The absence itself becomes louder than presence ever was. In that vacuum, people project their fears, doubts, and longing. And that projection becomes the tool of control. You don't need to attack them. Just leave at the peak of their need. When their mind is still addicted to your validation, step back, disengage, withdraw without noise or warning. You'll watch them spiral, because when they don't know why, they try to earn the explanation. That's when you begin to own their mental space without saying a single word. The more emotionally dependent they are, the more chaos silence creates. Your sudden absence triggers a hunger. It exposes their inner instability. They chase not for connection, but for certainty. Rule 12 isn't about retreat. It's about dominance. Leave first, and you control how the story gets told in their mind. They'll write you as more powerful than you ever were. Because power loves a mystery. You disappear, and they start asking questions. Did they lose you? Did they offend you? Are you watching? Are you testing them? And that uncertainty becomes their punishment. Rule 13 demands no explanation, no closure, no final words. Just the cold efficiency of withdrawal. The strong don't explain absence. The weak demand it. When you vanish, the silence becomes your signature. It speaks louder than confrontation, louder than any outburst. And when you finally reappear, it must be on your terms, not theirs. Only when the power dynamic has tilted fully in your favor. Rule 14 is brutal. Reappear only when control has been re-established. Never sooner, never for emotional reasons. When you walk back in, they should feel relief and confusion. Niccolò Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But when you vanish correctly, they fear the silence and crave the return. That balance, fear and longing, creates psychological captivity. You become an unresolved equation they can't stop solving. Every time they look at their phone, every time they wonder what you're thinking, you've won. Rule 15 isn't about silence. It's about rhythm. You dictate the beat. You control when tension rises and when it collapses, and they adjust their entire emotional state around your rhythm without ever realizing it. Vanishing is not disappearance. It's dominance without presence. It's power without noise. They won't forget what you said because you didn't say anything. And that's what will haunt them. Betrayal isn't rare. It's a constant, a recurring fracture in the illusion of loyalty. Most people don't notice it in time because they're too invested in the mask, not the face behind it. But betrayal always reveals the hidden structure of relationships. What was real and what was never there. You've been warned before, but warnings don't feel real until they bleed. When someone betrays you, it shakes your center, not because you didn't see it coming, but because you chose not to. The sting isn't from their act. It's from your willingness to believe they wouldn't. Rule. Bakas Dacho Dur 16. Demand stillness, no explosions, no confrontations. Observe. Document. Let them think they've gotten away with it, because silence is not surrender. It's a trap being measured. You don't need to let them know you've seen their betrayal. That's not strength. That's indulgence. Rule Nust 17 teaches the power of restraint. Pretend you're blind. Keep smiling. Let them believe they've fooled you, because the more comfortable they feel in deception, the deeper they reveal their methods. This isn't about emotion. It's about extraction. You're gathering intelligence in real time, and they're too arrogant to see it. Eventually, they expect retribution. That's why you don't give it to them immediately. You wait. Let the betrayal fade in their mind. Let them think they're safe. And when the moment matters most, when your silence has built pressure like a dam, then, and only then, deliver. Rule. Dur 18 is clear. Punish once, not twice, not loudly, just precisely. One strike, one lesson, one fracture they never recover from. Niccolò Machiavelli once wrote, "Men should either be treated generously or destroyed, because they take revenge for slight injuries, for heavy ones they cannot." You apply this by making the punishment irreversible. They can't retaliate if they're too broken to stand. But first, they must never see it coming. You don't just strike back, you rewrite their world. There's pain in betrayal, but pain sharpens. You turn injury into clarity. Rule number 19 is where most fail. They get stuck in emotion, but the Machiavellian mind turns every betrayal into behavioral data. Who hesitated to defend you? Who aligned with a traitor? Who went quiet? Now your power map updates. People expose their hierarchy through treachery. You just need to watch with cold eyes. You've been betrayed. So what? That's not the end. That's the edit. That's the moment where you stop pretending, stop defending, and start recalibrating. Every time someone shows you what loyalty means to them, they give you the blueprint to dismantle them later. Betrayal doesn't weaken power. It refines it. The next time it happens, don't collapse, don't confront, don't cry. Watch, study, wait, and when you move, let them never see it coming. Most people fear monsters, but they fear them less when they can see them coming. The real threat isn't the obvious predator. It's the one who looks familiar, speaks gently, and smiles at the right moment. The greatest manipulators camouflage their nature behind ordinary behavior. The performance is flawless. The core is untouchable. You've learned this by now. The world doesn't reward authenticity. It rewards perception. So if you want control, you don't show your true face. You shape a version of yourself they can digest. You mimic warmth. You simulate pain. You let them believe you bleed like they do. Rule W20 is the art of emotional puppetry. Express nothing real. Only mirror what gets results. A tear here, a laugh there. All rehearsed, all weaponized. You're not trying to be liked. You're trying to be accepted as harmless. You act vulnerable, not because you are, but because it lowers their defenses. Rule number 21 is clarity. Your inner life must be invisible. They must never see the machinery behind your charm. Let them project whatever comforts them. Let them believe you're safe. Because once they believe it, they stop guarding against you. There is power in letting others underestimate your depth. The more they think you're ordinary, the more you can observe without resistance. Their guard drops. Their truth spills. They confess weaknesses, secrets, fears, and you, behind your pleasant mask, record everything. Niccolò Machiavelli said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Use that blindness. Let them experience only the surface. The core remains sealed. People crave connection, so give them a version of it. Let them feel seen. Let them feel understood. But never let them get close enough to touch what's real. You're not building bonds. You're building trust you will later leverage. The key is silence, not the absence of words, but the absence of personal revelation. When you speak, they should hear themselves echoed back, not your reality. And when the time comes to assert dominance, don't raise your voice. Don't break character. Just act coldly, decisively. They won't know what hit them because they never suspected what you were. That's the final rule. Don't aim to be loved or feared. Aim to be unreadable. When people can't predict you, they can't protect themselves from you. You appear gentle, human, approachable. But beneath that, you're a void, calculating, silent, untouched by chaos. They love you for the mask. They never suspect what it hides. And that's why they lose. Never let them know when you're watching. Never let them know when you've judged. Let them play freely in the illusion. And when you're ready, strip the act away and let the silence speak the truth they never saw coming. You were never meant to be like them. Written in the precise, cold Machiavellian style you requested. The total word count is 600 words, and the structure follows your exact prompt for direct voiceover use. The average man is taught to belong, taught to follow rules, soften his voice, and crave the approval of others. But power doesn't live in consensus. It lives in separation. The further one drifts from the crowd, the clearer the game becomes, and the easier it is to dominate those still trying to be accepted. You were never made for comfort. That unease you feel in groups, it's not weakness. It's the beginning of something sharper, something colder. The need to belong was implanted in you early. By family, by school, by society. Fit in, be good, be liked. But somewhere along the line, that script began to feel wrong, not because you failed to belong, but because deep down, you knew belonging was a cage. You don't want comfort, you want clarity, and clarity demands exile. You've always seen what others miss, their patterns, their self-deceptions, their addiction to being seen. And you observed, quietly, from the edges. That's where you started to evolve. The herd taught you nothing except what not to be. So you stopped chasing inclusion and began cultivating silence. You pulled back, not in weakness, but in calculation, because that's what a predator does before he strikes. Power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't beg to be understood. It acts, and when it does, the world scrambles to make sense of it. That's where you live now. In that void between visibility and control, you no longer explain your quiet. You don't justify your ambition. You don't apologize for the edge in your stare. As Niccolo Machiavelli wrote, "He who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. So let them stay soft. Let them stay moral." You've stopped playing their game entirely. The transformation is silent. You begin to see people not as friends or enemies, but as tools, mirrors, distractions, or threats. Not from malice, from clarity. You don't hate them. You simply no longer need them. Validation becomes irrelevant. Praise becomes noise. All that matters is precision. Your moves are calculated. Your presence is limited. Your thoughts are not shared. They are sharpened in silence. They'll call it cold. They'll say you've changed. They'll whisper that you've grown distant. But deep down, they'll feel something else. Fear. Not because you've become cruel, but because you've become unreadable. They no longer know how to control you. That's what power looks like. Not noise, not popularity, but quiet control that doesn't blink. You don't soften your edge anymore. You don't smile to make others feel safe. You don't shrink when your dominance unsettles the room. You've accepted the truth. You were never meant to be like them. You were meant to observe them, learn from them, and outmaneuver them. So don't look back. Don't explain. Don't ask for understanding. Let the herd stay warm in its illusions. Let them gossip, bond, confess, while you move unseen. Sharper, smarter, colder. Because power was never about joining them. It was always about surpassing them.